people think about DDP's time in the WWF, we think immediately of missed opportunities. Dallas Page had worked hard in WCW to become a standout superstar, becoming very popular at a time when WCW was beating WWE in the ratings war. There wasn't a fan of wrestling during the mid to late 90s who didn't know who Diamond Dallas Page was, so how did WWF manage to drop the ball so badly with his debut? In a continuation from my last DDP video that looked at his meteoric rise in WCW, this time we will look at the WWE career of Diamond Dallas Page. When Vince McMahon purchased WCW in 2001, there were a lot of main WCW players who decided they would rather sit out their WCW contracts and collect the money at home. Big names like Bill Goldberg, Hulk Hogan, Ric Flair, Kevin Nash and Scott Hall all decided to stay at home and allow their Time Warner contracts to expire while still collecting a paycheck. Other guys, however, gave up this limited time guaranteed cash flow and decided to chance it with the WWF. One of the guys who accepted a contract buyout was Diamond Dallas Page. DDP saw this as an opportunity and he wanted to be on board for what was about to go down with the invasion angle. You have to remember that Diamond Dallas Page at this point was not getting any younger. When he did eventually show up to the WWF, he was 45 years old. It's very likely that Page thought if he waited around any longer, then he may not have had the opportunity to sign with the WWE again. DDP's idea for debuting in the WWF was to work against The Rock. Both men were known as the People's Champion in their respective companies, so it seemed like the natural thing to do. DDP even said that he and Rock had some light-hearted words about who was the real People's Champion when DDP was backstage at a WWE show in Canada while Page was still performing in WCW. Page said, "We shook hands and as we were walking out almost halfway down the hallway I hear, 'Hey Diamond.' Big Show gets out of my way and I see him in the far corner of that locker room. He says to me, and I can see he's rolling in the character, 'You know, there's only one People's Champion.' Big Show just about blew his guts out. He laughed so hard. I just stared at him and I bet you I didn't say anything for 15 seconds. And I said, 'You know, Rock, you're right. And you, my friend, well, you're looking at him.'" DDP further elaborated on his debut idea by saying he wanted the lights to cut out in the building with everyone thinking it's going to be a standard Chris Jericho entrance coming up. The lights would stay out, going from 15 to 30 to 40 seconds. Jim Ross would apologise to the fans at home for the technical difficulties in the arena, but then DDP's voice would echo in the arena saying, "Who's the real People's Champion?" The lights would come back on and DDP would be standing in the ring performing the diamond cutter hand gesture. Unfortunately, this wasn't the plan that Vince McMahon had. Looking at the grand theatrics that DDP had for his debut in comparison to what really went down kind of highlights how WWE can shut down expectations in a heartbeat. While DDP wasn't going to be working in a People's Champion angle with The Rock, he would be working with a top WWE superstar, The Undertaker. However, how he got introduced to the WWE was so out of character that you have to wonder exactly what Vince was thinking. It's no secret that Vince didn't care much for those who made a name for themselves outside of the WWE, and he would book these kind of superstars into losing positions. But the way Dallas Page was brought into the WWE would have even made die-hard DDP fans switch the TV off. Someone was stalking The Undertaker's then wife Sarah. The stalker would record footage of Sarah at her home while a voiceover would explain how he was having fun creeping on the wife of The Undertaker. The stalker used a voice changer and we didn't know who it was. Out of curiosity, I ripped the voice and fixed the pitch as I was wondering if it was really DDP who was doing the voiceovers. So listen to this comparison here. The first voice you will hear is what was aired on TV and the second bit of audio is the real voice with the pitch fixed.
"This is The Undertaker's wife, Sarah. In the privacy of her own home, combing her beautiful blonde hair."
"This is The Undertaker's wife, Sarah. In the
privacy of her own home, combing her beautiful blonde hair.
So yeah, it was Vince McMahon doing the voiceovers. These videos would continue to air on Raw and SmackDown shows, with Undertaker getting more and more agitated and anxious about the Stalker. The Stalker would reveal who he was on the June 18th, 2001 edition of WWF Raw, when he came to the ring on Undertaker's motorbike. The Stalker got in the ring wearing a mask, and when he took it off, the crowd erupted when it was revealed to be Diamond Dallas Page. The crowd reaction completely tells the story here. When Page takes the mask off, the pop is insane, almost deafening. But as the crowd begin to realise that Page was written to be the Stalker, the noise turns into confusion. Here we have DDP, one of WCW's top stars, and he is being booked to be a creep. It didn't help at all when Jim Ross said on commentary, DDP is the Stalker, DDP is a sicko. It really seemed DDP was getting buried here before he even had a match. To his credit though, DDP done what he could to make the best of this situation. He delivered a good promo by saying, Undertaker, like the Diamond Cutter, you never saw it coming. Why did Diamond Dallas Page go after the Undertaker like this? If you want to make an impact in this business, you go after the biggest, meanest, baddest dog in the yard, and when you find that dog, if you want to get the best out of them, you make it personal. My whole life people have been telling me, until you've been to the top of our business, you're never really famous. Well, Undertaker, trust me, you can take it to the bank. Whether I have to buy a ticket or not, I will see you at King of the Ring. So DDP's reasons for stalking the wife of The Undertaker was to make it personal, so he could better his professional standing within the WWE by going after the biggest superstar in the company. I'm sorry, but the idea for People's Champion versus People's Champion was a million times better than this. I'm not sure anyone, then or now, would care for a stalker storyline on any professional wrestling show, no matter who was involved in it. It's just so mind-boggling that of all the people to play the role of a stalker, they thought Diamond Dallas Page was the right fit to do so. Nothing about Page was creepy or devious in this manner. DDP said of the debut, "It's amazing to me how many people it bothered. They knew that I was a top guy and they didn't use me correctly, but I agreed to it originally and that was a mistake. Vince and Shane McMahon told me coming in that they had this great idea and I was going to be working with their number one babyface. I didn't really like it because it was about me stalking someone else's wife. I would look across the table at Kimberly and nobody could compare. It was ridiculous. It took out the believability factor." It's sad that we have to spend so much time talking about DDP's debut in the WWF, but the harsh reality is that this is what he is most remembered for during his time within the company. At King of the Ring, the tables were turned on Page as footage of his personal life was aired during the event. DDP had a confrontation with Undertaker in the ring, which quickly turned into a brawl. Undertaker dominated the fight until DDP escaped the arena through the crowd, while Sarah videotaped him leaving. The next pay-per-view was Invasion, and DDP and Taker were on opposing sides as Page represented the Alliance and Undertaker represented WWE in the tag team main event. The Alliance won the match. DDP and Kanyon reunited in the WWE, harking back to their days in the Jersey Triad. The duo captured the WWF Tag Team titles when they defeated the APA, but at SummerSlam, the team lost the titles in a steel cage match against Undertaker and Kane. During the match, DDP got an injury which would keep him out of the ring for around 2 months. He returned in November, several weeks before the Alliance lost the Invasion angle and kayfabe lost his job with all other members of the Alliance. While Page was out injured, he changed his gimmick. Now DDP was some sort of motivational speaker, being overly positive while displaying the cheesiest and creepiest smile. The Positively Paige gimmick, I didn't like this either. I know some people enjoyed it, but I just couldn't grasp why WWE just wouldn't let him be Diamond Dallas Page, the master of the diamond cutter. DDP, I felt, didn't need gimmicks or character changes, just let him go out and work, he was already over. The Positively Paige stuff, I know it was supposed to come across as corny and the smile was intentionally overdone, but I don't know, it just wasn't for me. Because the Alliance were defeated in the winner-takes-all match at Survivor Series of 2001, DDP, in storyline, didn't have a job. He had the opportunity to win his job back when he faced the Big Boss Man on the January 17th, 2002 edition of SmackDown. DDP won the match, turning babyface in the process. Just 2 weeks later, Page defeated Christian to become the European champion. Christian had previously been a student of Page's positive thinking philosophy. It wasn't all doom and gloom. Page achieved a professional goal of his when he competed at WrestleMania. DDP vs Christian at WrestleMania 18 was a very good match, one of the better matches in a show that was jam-packed with showdowns that included Ric Flair vs Undertaker and The Rock vs Hulk Hogan. You have to think though, with the grand ideas DDP had for his WWE debut, where he wanted to work with The Rock but instead worked with Undertaker, that maybe Page didn't see himself in this position on the WrestleMania card. Either way though, when you go back to watch WrestleMania 18, don't skip past DDP vs Christian. Just a week later, DDP dropped the title to William Regal on the March 21st edition of SmackDown. Page would then get drafted to SmackDown as a mainstay during the 2002 draft lottery, but his WWE in-ring career wouldn't last much longer. On the 18th of April edition of SmackDown, DDP was booked into a match with Hardcore Holly. Page got a really bad neck injury after a botched superplex, and Page announced his retirement in June of that year. If you watch the match back, you can see that DDP had way too much torque when he delivered the superplex, and instead of landing on his back, he landed on his shoulders and neck. It did look painful. And so, this is the end of DDP's in-ring WWE career. Page would go on to work again in the squared circle as he had a few years with TNA, albeit he was a bit more limited in the ring. Page came back to the WWE to work on the highly recommended Best of Nitro DVDs, where he hosted the presentations. He would make sporadic appearances on special episodes of Raw such as Raw 1000 and Old School Raw. In 2015, he was a surprise entrant in the Royal Rumble match, and the following year, Page was once again able to compete at WrestleMania when he was part of the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal. In 2017, Diamond Dallas Page was inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame. I attended the ceremony on this night and I was glad I did. DDP delivered a great speech, and even if his WWE career wasn't great, and even if you feel that WCW stars shouldn't get a WWE Hall of Fame induction, Page would deserve it anyway, if only for the wrestlers' lives he has saved and the work he continues to do right now to help others.